The wars history chose to forget. History remembers the big wars. The ones with clear winners, clear losers, and giant monuments built on their ruins. But scattered across the 20th and 21st centuries are conflicts that shaped borders, toppled empires, created modern alliances, destroyed old ones, and quietly engineered the world we live in today. Yet are barely taught, rarely discussed, and almost completely forgotten. This is the story of 5 forgotten wars that changed the modern world. Conflicts erased by time, overshadowed by bigger headlines, but powerful enough to rewrite global history. 1. The war that redrew the Middle East, the 1956 Suez Crisis. It began with one decision, made by a man who believed his country would never again bow to an empire. Egypt's President Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal, a waterway owned by Britain and France. To the world, it was a simple act of sovereignty. To the old colonial powers, it was an unforgivable insult. Behind closed doors, 3 nations, Britain, France, and Israel, plotted a secret invasion to take the canal back and overthrow Nasser. Their armies struck fast. Their planes bombed Egyptian towns. The world braced for a new global conflict. But then something unexpected happened. For the first time in history, the United States and the Soviet Union, rivals in every sense, agreed on one thing. The old empires had gone too far. Under pressure from both superpowers, Britain and France withdrew in humiliation. Their dream of empire died in the desert sands of Sinai and Port Said. Why this forgotten war mattered? It marked the true end of European colonial dominance. It pushed Arab nationalism forward. And it cemented the U.S. as the new global superpower of the Middle East, a role it still holds today. 2. The Bamboo Curtain War, the 1962 Sino-Indian War. High in the icy Himalayas, where oxygen is thin and the world's roof scrapes the sky, 2 ancient civilizations, China and India, collided. It started with border patrols, then small skirmishes, then accusations, then war. In October 1962, China launched a sudden offensive. Indian soldiers, poorly equipped, faced freezing temperatures and overwhelming numbers. The conflict lasted barely a month, yet its shockwaves still echo. China emerged victorious, redrawing the border in its favor. India, humiliated, began a sweeping military modernization that continues today. Why this forgotten war mattered? It defined the modern China-India border. It sparked one of the world's largest arms races. And it remains one of the key reasons the 2 nuclear-armed nations face constant tension even today. 3. The Football War, 1969. It sounds unbelievable. A war that began with a football match. But beneath the stadium lights of 1969 was a deeper truth. Decades of land disputes, poverty, and mass migration between El Salvador and Honduras. When violence erupted among rival fans during a World Cup qualifier, it became the spark that lit a long-buried powder keg. Within days, tanks rolled. Jets screamed across the sky. More than 3,000 people died in a conflict that lasted just 100 hours. The real reasons had nothing to do with football, but the name stuck. And so did the consequences. The war pushed Central America into political chaos, helped trigger civil wars in the region, and reshaped borders and migration patterns that affect millions even now. Why this forgotten war mattered? It transformed Central American politics. It created refugee waves still seen today. And it showed how desperation, not sports, was the real enemy. 4. The Ogaden War. The Cold War's desert chessboard, 1977 to 1978. Somalia and Ethiopia, 2 nations at the Horn of Africa, were once friends. But in 1977, Somalia invaded Ethiopia's Ogaden region, hoping to unite all Somali-speaking people under one flag. What followed was one of the most bizarre alliances in Cold War history. The Soviet Union switched sides mid-war. Cuba sent tens of thousands of troops to fight in Africa. The United States armed Somalia. In the deserts of the Ogaden, the world's great powers fought each other through proxies. The war ended with Ethiopia emerging victorious, but both nations were left shattered. Why this forgotten war mattered? It helped collapse Somalia, leading to decades of instability, piracy, and famine. It strengthened communist influence in Africa. And it showed how superpowers could ignite destruction far from their own borders. 5. The 10-Day War that broke Yugoslavia, 1991. When Slovenia declared independence from Yugoslavia, many believed it would spark a peaceful breakup. They were wrong. The Yugoslav National Army moved in quickly. Tanks rolled across borders. Barricades appeared overnight. Shots were fired between people who had once shared the same anthem. The war lasted just 10 days, but it was enough to shatter the illusion that Yugoslavia could dissolve peacefully. It became the prologue to something far worse. The Bosnian War. The Croatian War. Ethnic cleansing. Genocide. The 10-Day War was the match that set the Balkan powder keg on fire. Why this forgotten war mattered? It signaled the violent end of Yugoslavia. It reshaped southeastern Europe. And it set the stage for NATO's future role in conflicts beyond its borders. Final chapter. The lessons we failed to learn. Narrator. These wars were short. Some lasted days. Some a few months. Some barely made global news. Yet collectively they changed. Borders. Superpower influence. Migration patterns. Regional alliances. Modern geopolitics. They remind us of a chilling truth. History is not only shaped by the wars we remember, but also by the ones we choose to forget. The world today, its tensions, alliances, rivalries, and fears, did not emerge from peace treaties alone. It was shaped in deserts, in mountains, in football stadiums, in jungles, and in forgotten battlefields where ordinary soldiers fought and died without ever making the headlines. These forgotten wars built the world we live in. And perhaps, by remembering them, we can avoid the next one.